Nice to meet you. That's good.
Cat, hi.
You are Richie. Richie, how you doing, Richie? It's Ron. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Pete. How you doing? So, more than going crazy. I guess what we want to try and do, our show is real informal, and real as they were US, and what I want to try and do is just introduce basically all of it last week. So I mean, it's going to be help out, introduce things about you, just want to introduce more people, just what we're about, here's where we're from, here's what we're like, real basic, just like convenience. I guess the best way for us to approach it, that's probably the best way for you guys to learn too. So that's cool. I got some like notes in the back of my phone. We'll kind of wing it from there and just kind of do it. But any help you guys need to just chat it up, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then what we'll probably do is we'll get maybe a couple videos from Rachel, and we'll cut away to a couple videos, so we'll just a couple like talk about the music, cut away to a couple things. With this kind of thing, we do a ton of editing in the studio, so don't worry about any warm-ups. I never do. So we'll do it that way, and like I said, just learn what you can studios. So
He doesn't know.
So he doesn't know where it is.
If you're sitting, that should be fine. Yeah. If you guys are sitting, that's cool.
I don't know. Actually, maybe I should go to one
You
side
can
so
even
you guys can kind of be.
back a little bit if you wanted. It's got wheels.
Yeah, just.
Why don't you scooch it a little bit? All right. I look friendly.
Are we rolling? Let me know.
Meantime, go.
Okay. Hi, this is Lonnie for High Voltage in Minneapolis, and we're backstage at the Reading Festival '97 with Cable. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Richie, drummer.
A little bit more specific.
Matt.
Matt.
I'm Pete.
Pete. And you guys already just got done playing today, correct? And you were on the. Have you been touring around on the Warped Tour?
No.
Just for this show? Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Where are you guys from originally?
We're all from the Midlands, really.
Apart from me, I sort of used to live around Reading and stuff, but I moved up to Nottingham with my old band and hitched up with these about 2 years ago.
Okay. How long have you guys been together as a band?
About 5 years. Coming up to 5 years. So.
And I know that you've got a bunch of material released over here in the UK. Is there anything that's out in America yet at all?
You can get our albums in America.
We were over in New York last year, and we went into a record store, and it was there was a few like an album and a single we found on import and stuff. So it's, some people have been able to get hold of it, but there's no solid release yet.
So far, anybody that's out looking for Cable music is going to have to order it on import.
Yeah.
So, okay. And there's a lot of record stores in Minneapolis where you guys can do that too. If you like what you see here, Let It Be Records downtown is one good place to order Cable music, and I'm sure they can get it for you as well.
They've already got it. I mean, like you were saying, we're in New York, and some record shops, some of the bigger independent stores had actually got it in stock anyway. Right. So.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the music. What's the newest thing that you guys have out? Is that the When Animals Attack album?
Yeah.
Okay, and what's there's a single off that album. What's the single off that album?
We released about 3 singles off it already.
What's the newest single off the When Animals Attack?
And we've got a new single coming out next week, which is called God Gave Me Gravity.
Okay, I think we've got a video for that too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the video, and then we'll go ahead and show it. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but we'll go ahead and.
This year, and in between touring, we actually made a short film because we bumped into this crazy director bloke who wanted to make a short film and asked if we'd be in it, and so we went out for a week and the film crew, and we went out and filmed in Wales and the south of England.
Did that end up being the new video?
Yeah, part of we got 2 promo videos out of it as well. So Bluebirds Are Blue was the first single we released off the album, and the same guy did the video for that, and then we released Freeze Atlantic off the album. He did that video also, and then one day we were driving back from a hard day slogging it out in front of the cameras, and we were driving down the road, and there was a dog running along the side of the van, and we were stuck in some rush hour traffic, and we just trundling along, and this dog overtook us eventually. He was running along the gutter and he just disappeared in the road in front of us. And it's like dead long straight road. We pulled away, we carried on going, the traffic's trundling along slowly, and we eventually caught up with this dog, and he was still running along, his tongue hanging out the side of his mouth.
On a mission.
And eventually it obviously became very amusing for simple blokes like us. And so we were looking out the windows and going, God, look, a dog. And yeah, and it went on for about 15 minutes. This dog was just on a mission somewhere. It was just running along in the gutter and we couldn't believe it. So that became the whole idea for the video.
Okay.
The latest single.
Well, why don't we cut away right now and take a look at the new video then for God Gave Me Gravity.
Let's do it,
yeah. And when we come back, we'll discuss further. How's that sound? You're on high voltage. Thanks. Okay, we're back with Cable backstage at the Reading Festival '97, and one thing I did read about you guys, were you guys nominated for Best New Band in Kerrang as well?
That's right.
Okay, now was that an honor for you guys?
It was blown away.
Do you guys aspire to the rock and roll lifestyle? Was that something?
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
How much film have you got in there? Forever.
We could talk about that forever, yeah.
What
That was just one of the most fantastic experiences of our
If we were
lives.
to sum it all up, though, all we'd have to say was Black Sabbath.
On the table next
We
to
were
us.
sat next to Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, is that right?
Tony Iommi. It was just
I met
totally,
Ozzy Osbourne.
We didn't
totally
care that we
wicked.
didn't win. It was just sitting next to Black Sabbath.
That was at that point you knew you'd finally made it over that hump. That was that was. Okay, let me ask you this. Just for the people at home that haven't heard a lot about you, describe Cable music.
Just like Bush.
Apart from, I did listen to a few things the other night. Now I saw the new video, and apart from the obvious references to Bush, what would you describe as being Cable music?
Difficult slash easy listening.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And it ranges between the two constantly.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. All right. Okay, another interesting thing that I read in Kerrang, I believe, about you guys is that you had some sort of deep-seated desire to tour with Wasp and with, was it Twisted Sister? Explain,
We're
please.
just close personal friends with those bands. Really, they're like our sister bands. So, you know,
Manowar as well. Manowar would be really cool.
I think
Okay,
Kiss would be very good as well.
I think that's got to be every young aspiring musician's dreams to tour with
the
Kiss.
thing is, I think I probably did give people the wrong impression. I think when you say things ironically, don't you? And then they go in print, and it just sounds like you're being totally serious.
Well, when you start putting things in Kerrang about wanting to tour with Wasp and Twisted Sister, and then along comes some snotty interviewer from the Midwest of America, you kind of got to explain. So.
Exactly.
Okay, tell me a little bit about your guys' feelings about some of the musical differences you've noticed between British rock and roll and American rock and roll. I mean, there's got to be some American bands like Black Sabbath that over the years you guys have had. I mean, well, no, I'm sorry, British bands. What am I talking about? Okay, let's talk about maybe some of the differences between American music and British music. I mean, British bands, obviously, Black Sabbath you mentioned was one that was maybe an influence. It was a big honor for you guys to meet. As far as American bands go, I mean, what do you guys see as some of the major differences currently in music between what's happening on this side of the ocean and what's happening over there?
Can you ask
Too long of a question?
The difference is cow and cow.
Okay, well let's backtrack a bit. You said you guys had been over to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest experience you've had over in America so far?
Yeah.
It's the only, really.
What were your impressions of New York and the music scene there?
Scary. It's very overwhelming for country boys like us.
From the Midlands of England.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was,
much more
it was
intense.
very eye-opening for us, and we're used to the simple life.
Right. The one thing that I've noticed in the time I've been over here, and obviously spending a lot of time back in the States, is that it seems that the British music fans are a lot more passionate at times than the American music fans. I mean, I don't know what kind of impression you get. You guys grew up here. But the British music fans tend to know what they like and they know what they hate, and there really isn't a line down the middle. I mean, do you find that your fans are very devoted to you? I mean, do you have that kind of enthusiasm behind the people that follow cable?
Yeah, I suppose. I think the thing with British people is the British press has quite a strong influence over what
Right, exactly.
we'll listen to, and there isn't a tremendous amount of outlets for alternative music, really. So I think everyone tends to just listen to the same radio shows or whatever, or read the same papers all the time. So they collectively, they all kind of get
Right.
one thing. They're kind of more or less told who to like and who not to like. And
I mean, the one thing that I've noticed since we've been over here, going to some clubs and spending time at the Reading Festival so far, is that music seems to play a lot bigger role culturally in Britain than it does in America. It seems to be, I mean, obviously with big major mega events like the Oasis album and things like that are going to be all over the place, which is another story altogether. But
escapism, isn't it? It's because we're all trapped on this little island.
do you think that's what it is?
In America, you've got plenty of space, and you can just
You've got plenty
sit
of
and
everything. If you don't, you don't even have to like music at all. There's so many other things you can go out and do.
Right. So is it something that's important to you guys to eventually maybe crack America, or?
Yeah, definitely.
definitely.
Something we really, really want to do. We've always wanted to do, I think. So
Right.
sooner the better.
But I mean, when we first started, we always ended up playing with American bands because there's a thing happening in this country where a lot of the bands that are on at the moment it's a kind of very retro vibe to it, and they're kind of regurgitating a lot of our musical heritage really, and but I like a lot some of those bands, but we try and do something a little bit different, and I think that's one of the differences between the English bands that are doing well and American bands that are doing well. It's just going full circle.
Right.
I think people in Britain want to listen to that kind of thing at the moment.
Right.
There are a lot of bands in Britain at the moment that have the same kind of work ethic as the American bands that come and play over here and are big,
Sure.
successful. I don't think anyone in Britain would want to listen to an American version of Blur, but
Right.
But I think people appreciate what the Americans have to offer.
Right.
With regards to bands like Girls Against Boys and Shellac and people like that.
Yeah, I mean,
They're coming up with quite innovative, new music.
I've noticed that there are a lot of British bands that, for whatever reason, just don't make sense in America. I mean, in America, I guess we'd say that doesn't work in Des Moines or whatever, I mean, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I read a recent review of like Terror Vision at CBGB's, and apparently they just kind of went down like a lead balloon. It just didn't make sense. There's a lot of bands over here that just don't translate well to American culture. But watching your guys,
overtly English,
Right.
It can be a bad thing. It can work in their favour sometimes because there's that kind of a lot of people love to embrace a culture that is not their own, and it's,
Sure.
it's kind of a strange fascination with something that is so different. But also people like to have something they're familiar with as well, and something that crosses over. So if like Blur America, and they're being all Cockney and crazy English people with all their English quirks.
Right.
A lot of America just won't understand it. They won't get it.
Patronised at the end of the day.
Sure. Well, I did notice listening to your guys, I think the new CD last night, that I think that your stuff would translate real well to America. It's not so overtly British that it wouldn't make sense to the average American. And I don't know, with that in mind, I think we've got another video, I think the last single for Freeze the Atlantic, right? And that's off the new album as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we cut away and maybe take a look at that video, and then when we come back, we'll kind of wrap it up. In the meantime, let's take a look at Freeze the Atlantic from Cable from the Reading Festival '97, High Voltage. We are back on High Voltage with Cable, backstage at the Reading Festival in Reading, England, 1997. Soon to be on tour with Wasp and Twisted Sister, coming to a town near you. Anyway, let's wrap it up a little bit, you guys. Any plans to come to America anytime soon? Hopefully. I mean, at some point you'd like to
As
come
soon as
over.
somebody over there that wants to give us a fucking record deal.
Okay. keep an eye out for Cable Records. I'm sure if you can't find them, ask the record store owner. I'm sure we can order them for you. It's good stuff. Good band. Very good band. I appreciate you guys taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
Why don't... That's right. Okay. Okay, so wrapping it up with Cable at the Reading Festival 97, and you guys like to maybe say something to our listeners, say goodbye, greet Middle America.
Yes. Goodbye, and don't tell lies.
And that as well.
And that as well. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, from the Reading Festival, this is Lonnie and Cable. See you later.
See ya.